Hey everyone, this is Martin, and Shelly's here somewhere. Oh, hey, you know what you can see? How can I do that? All right, over here. That's my flannel vault. Keep wanting to mention that, and I keep forgetting. So put your name down in the chat box so we can see who all's here. I see there's a few of you out there already. And we're getting ready to start this. If Shelly would get over here, get your drink and get over here. So I'm Martin. Name of the channel is the Campfire Trail, and we're down here in the cabin, and we're just recovering from cold weather, and it's been down to like 2 degrees.
I'm Shelly.
There's Shelly finally. Always find something to do.
Well, I have a lot to do.
Okay. Hey, there's Ken. Okay, so for those of you that are out there, Ken is responsible for this night's subject. Did you know that, Ken? And yeah, so we're gonna be discussing the subject that he threw out there last week. He said, "I just want to live a simple life," and I've been thinking about that all week, and so we're going to go ahead and kind of have a little bit of a talk about that tonight. But before we do that, I wanted to throw in a couple of housekeeping deals here. Next week, I've spoken with a friend of mine. His name is Casey Holman, and him and his family have a farm up more towards the central part of Missouri here. And he has agreed to come on one of these live feeds, I think next week, but haven't quite pinned him down exactly to the date. But Casey has got, and if you're out there, Casey, throw your name up there on the thing. But he has, besides the farm up there, he also does woodlot management, and he has a commercial firewood processing operation up there, and he also has one of the Facebook groups in Missouri on homesteading that he started up, and then also he does events, homestead events throughout the year up there. So very interesting. We've known him for probably about 10 years, and kind of excited to have him on here. And I think he's kind of excited to get on here and share a little bit. So we're going to have the split screen thing going on where he can be on board with that. So there's that. If you could hit the subscribe and the notification bell on our channel, and we will get right into this. Anybody, I can see there's a bunch of you out there, so chime in with your name. Let's see who all's here. So you ready to go?
Yep.
Okay.
Ready.
So now it's been 3 degrees this morning when we woke up, and our whole cabin smells like. Hey, Lily and Dave are there. All right. Yeah, the whole cabin smells like grape jelly because Shelly has been cooking down a bunch of grapes over here on Robin's there. Okay. Hey, Robin. She's been cooking. Oh, and Robin was responsible for the grapes.
Yeah.
She has this huge patch of Concord grapes, and she donated grocery bags full of Concord grapes to us. And so Shelly was cooking them down.
Yeah, it amazes me. Once you pick them through, you get the ripe ones off, and then when you cook them down, they just kind of go down. It takes a lot more.
What do you hear?
Jennifer,
hey.
Hi, Jennifer.
How's the weather up there?
She's gonna say it's cold.
Yeah,
it's cold everywhere.
Yeah, they're.
But anyway, by the time you cook them down, it makes a little bit of jelly.
Yeah. Well, hey, you get what you get. That's what we're gonna get.
Yeah. Bob Weeder.
Hey,
Hi, Bob.
Hey. So anyway, yeah, Ken, last week when we were talking about, I don't even remember really what the subject was, but last week we were talking, and Ken, he's on here tonight. His handle there is KJ, if you see him.
Yeah.
And he had mentioned somewhere in there, he had said something about, I just want to live a simple life. Mm-hmm. And I thought about that, and I thought, no, that's kind of what. And then I think Mike chimed in from down in Florida. He says that's what we all want. Yeah. And so I don't know if they're out there yet or not, but so I was thinking about that, and I thought, we're trying to do our best to kind of enjoy a simple life down here. And, you know, one of the things when I mentioned it on some of the social media things I kind of flow around with, -17 this morning.
Woo, Jennifer.
Well, I feel bad. Hey, it'll get better, you know.
Yeah.
It's bound to around July or something, you know.
You're mean.
Yeah. So as I was thinking about this living the simple life thing, it was, you know, I got to thinking, I thought, you know, we're trying to do that here, but then a lot of times things just aren't all that simple. And I thought, well, you know, really they're simple. They're just not always easy. And so Lori Cyverson, hello, Northwest Georgia, frozen 12 overnight. Wow.
Whoa.
That's cold for down there. I mean, it really is. 12 degrees is, you know, that's way below freezing.
So I think my interpretation of that whole thing is the bunch of different ideas that we throw out here. We would like you guys to tell us what you think the simple life is. But I got to thinking simple life could mean different things for different people. It depends on what you consider simple life.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's harder. Of course, it is going to be harder.
It can be.
Maybe. It depends on what you do.
Yeah.
But to simplify your life, what are you doing now? Would doing something, living off grid, simplify your life? Or are you stuck in a city? Are you doing a lot of traveling and, you know, going back and forth and stuck in traffic?
Well, let's talk about the off-grid thing, because a lot of times people sort of equate the off-grid thing with simple, and it can be that way. We have got, and I know there's a couple of you out there that do have the off-grid thing going, and so it's not easy to get all of that established, because it takes. I mean, if you're going to live off-grid, as in sort of caveman style, I don't mind working hard in order to be free. Yeah, and that's what we're just getting ready to kind of talk about, because if you don't mind going through the work and the effort and the energy spent and the, you know, getting the understanding of how some of the off-grid systems work, then once you get past getting all of that set up, it can get to be very simple and actually very easy too. Yeah. And what I was going to say is that, you know, if your idea of off-grid is kind of going caveman Amish kind of a deal, where you get by with lanterns and wood stoves and things like that, and all of that, well, then, you know, a lot of the stuff that we consider kind of the off-grid application wouldn't really apply. Yeah. But if you're planning to do the solar energy, and around here, I mean, it's really the only alternative energy that's very good, unless you're living right next to a stream where you could actually do some hydro type energy. You know, the wind around here isn't consistent enough for wind energy, and
we do have a lot of sun though.
Yeah, we got a lot of sun, and you can capture enough to do that here. You just can't rely on the wind, or you can't necessarily rely on any kind of hydro water electricity of any kind. So but that's a learning curve, and it's quite a batch of equipment, you know, to get up and going. We did one of these live streams on just the solar applications a couple of weeks ago, and you know, we've talked about it before, you know, starting with the sun and coming to the plug-in or the light switch in your house. I mean, the sun it travels through the solar panels to start with, all the cabling and wiring to get down to your
wherever your
batteries and things are at, and then you have to go through a charge controller, or in our case, we have a hybrid inverter that converts the energy coming from the panels to the 12 volt or 48 volt energy.
Sounds complicated.
It does, and then it goes from the batteries back into the inverter to change it over to 110 or 220 AC, and then it goes on into your house. So I mean, it's a complicated process that gets more complicated with math and wire sizes and stuff like that.
You know, we don't want to complicate this, so let's make this a little bit easier. We're talking about simplifying. So as you get your system up and running, yes, it'll start getting easier.
You sort of get to ignore it.
and then you get to figure out what you want to do next. But is your freedom worth doing this? I mean, what will it take for you to wipe out all your bills
For most of them.
and do something without a job and do something like that? I think that's where people are. They're stuck right there. They want to be free of not having to work a paycheck kind of a job. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, is that the goal? Because the term simple living is really determined by each person. I mean, each person has their own idea of what that means. And with us, it really means kind of the freedom to not be connected to society in a lot of ways. And I mean, that sounds terrible, but that's kind of what it is. I mean, we get down here on our little place out in the woods, and I just don't want to leave. And to me, that's simple. And we have to go. I mean, it's been cold out, and we've had to go retrieve wood about every 3 days or so in this real cold. I mean, most of the time it's once a week, but we've got a big stash of firewood up on the side of the hill over here, a little ways from the cabin, and we go out there and split wood, and that's hard work, but it's simple it. And it's enjoyable. Yeah, both of us.
I like being outside, and I just enjoy it. So, and you smell that wood, and when it's being cut like that, you just can get a whiff of it, and it's really nice.
Yeah. So I mean, even though the wood splitting and stacking and cutting and all of that is work, to me it's a simple, low impact kind of life to go about doing that. And so I really enjoy it. I mean, we go up, and like she said, we're out in the woods. Our splitting area is just up the hill, just a little bit towards the garden. And you're working for you. That's cool. Yeah. And so we do it. It's just a slow routine that is easy. It's easy on the mind, sort of easy on the mentality and all of that. So
you
learning solar and is where you're at. Yeah. Yeah. And I tell you what, we've all been there, and I'm still kind of working my way across the curve on the solar thing. I have to fall back to my son-in-law quite often to get me straightened out on it. But I mean, it's not terribly complicated, but there's a learning curve with it.
Yeah, there is. And I was like, I didn't know what we were getting into, but I'm confident that when you put your mind to it and you study things a little bit, you can learn it.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be something that you have to learn overnight. As you go and you do it, you'll start learning it. And I married this guy here, and you know what? He has taught me so many things that I never done before. And so I've learned to adapt that kind of lifestyle. Well, if I don't know what it is, I'll learn how to do it.
We're coming up on our 45th anniversary. Yeah. So we've survived that. So we might as well just survive it on out to the rest. Another thing that we kind of refer to as simple living is the whole food preservation and growing thing. And starting our garden. Okay. We're in the woods. I mean, those of you that don't know our place down here, I mean, we're in some thick woods, and we had to clear out a spot for the cabin. We've cleared out a spot this last summer for where the house is going up over here. And last spring, actually starting about in February, so it's been almost a year ago, we started clearing out a spot for a garden, because that's been one of the main goals on our to-do list down here, is to grow food in the garden and then preserve it for quick use and long-term use.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot of work. That was like cutting trees and clearing stuff and drilling holes and putting, building raised beds for the garden.
And that's my thought too. You've got to be willing to do some of the work, unless you can afford somebody to do it for you. But I got to say, we are going to be in the building mode. But I still want to grow a garden, but it's not going to quite be as big as it has been. Because,
I don't know about that.
Okay, then you're going to have to help me more. Well. If you can help me more, then we'll see.
She makes it sound like I had nothing to do with the garden last year, but
who planted most of the garden?
Yeah, well, who built most of the beds?
I helped with that building.
Yeah, and I helped with the planting, didn't I?
We could go
And
on
the
and
watering.
on and on and on.
It's
I just want to make it simpler. Maybe have
see, she wants a simple life. Yeah.
I want a water system on it. That'll make it. That'll simplify it. If you want simple, that'd be good.
Yeah. Okay. So Ken, I'm very determined to live a simple way of life in the country. I'll do whatever it takes. Yeah. And that's the kind of attitude that you really have to have. You have to have the mentality that that you really are kind of going to do whatever it takes. And and so to gain that simplicity in life, I mean, you do have to conquer some things, and a lot of it has to do with the willingness to work. Both of you work too hard for the simple life. That's my brother-in-law saying that. Yeah, but even with that, okay, the work is, you know, I've said a lot. I mean, I've never been shy. I've never been too shy to work. I mean, I don't mind the work. I actually enjoy working. What I don't like is working at things that I don't like doing, or working at things that don't have any purpose. And so when I was, when I was starting to think, simple life, it's like doing things that I want to do. And if it involved work, well, that was no big deal. And you're both such people. Help each other. That's really, wait a minute. Okay. You both are such hardworking people and love helping each other. That's a rarity. Okay, rarity. I thought you said that was unfortunate. So, and that's my sister. But I guess the peak of that in my life was, working a job where I had to, my alarm clock, when we were up in Iowa, my alarm clock would go off at 4 a.m. because I had to be up and going and ready to head out the door by 5, and I had to be at work at 6, and it was just about an hour-long drive to where I was going. And I hated that routine. I absolutely. I mean, it would keep me awake with night sweats almost, just thinking that, okay, in how many hours that alarm is going to go off. I'm going to have to do the whole thing over again. I'm going to hate it. And I would work 10 hours a day, and then another hour-long drive home. And to me, that was like torture. And it was probably physically less work than what I do now. And but hey, Aaron is there. Is Bobby there too? But that whole idea of working that tedium, that routine was death to me. And so to me, coming down here and finally getting to a place where I can go out and cut and split and stack firewood and work on building a house and stuff like that. That is to me, that is
piece of cake.
So it's not easy, but it's simple, and I can handle that, and I enjoy that a lot. And so I would appreciate some of your comments over here. We're getting a few of them.
Yeah.
About what it would mean to you to live
a simple life.
What would the definition of that be to you?
Yeah. And if you say to what it is, what are you doing now? Just kind of compare where you are and where you want to be.
Yeah. And so I'll start this thing off. When I was talking about what I was talking about, when having to get up early and going to work, I was building and custom fabricating medical equipment, and it was equipment. I mean, it sounds very professional, precise, but it was really just trying to solve problems. And I'm kind of a problem solving kind of a guy. I like that kind of a deal. But just after I did that for almost 20 years, and after a while, it was just, even solving new problems every day was just a mundane torture. And and I just had to get away from it. And finally, it was, and I was even offered, after I kind of finally broke free of that sort of career path, it was like, people knew me. I had a reputation for being good at that, and people try to recruit me back into it. And it's like, no, I can't do it anymore at all. And let me go split some wood.
Yeah.
and so that's where we're at, and that's what we did. And
like me, I was the stay-home mom.
Yeah.
And then I ventured forth and I homeschooled my kids.
Yeah, that was quite a deal.
So that was a really big So I've had a lot of things that I've done, and we've done a big garden up in Iowa. So I knew what I was getting into when this garden was getting ready to go. But
Yeah.
I just know, I think we're going to be more busy with the house. He thinks.
Yeah,
not.
no, this year we will be. I mean, the house is going to take a priority. We want to have it, the basement built, which is a big job. And once we get to the actual building and the framing, and we're not working in the mud all the time, it'll get to be a lot easier and be more something up my alley. But you got to get the first things done first.
Yeah.
So, in the planning, I guess, probably the thing that I would say that's the most important part of, if you're wanting to make that transition back to whatever your definition of a simple life is it's going to take some planning, and wintertime is the best time for that, because there's so many things that you can't get out and do.
Yeah.
That, a lot of times when the weather is really bad, I'll just sit in my chair over here, either a laptop or a notepad on my lap, and just working on thinking of planning through, the upcoming year and the things that we're going to do. And, that's always been kind of part of our routine. And since we've been down here on this property, that routine has included, what is the single big thing that we're planning to do this upcoming year, and then what are 2 or 3 of the smaller things that we're planning to do. And last year I would say that the really big thing was the garden, because it was only about 2 months worth of work to get it built.
But it just took a lot, because there was a lot
to
forest trees there, and clean the land and build I wanted raised beds. So if we wouldn't have done raised beds, it probably wouldn't have taken so long. But I wanted raised beds.
Yeah, and they are a lot easier once they're built.
Oh,
they're like everything else, though. They're like the solar. It's a pain in the butt to get it going, but once you got it going, it's a lot easier if you'd have gone ahead and did all of that. And that's the way the raised beds were. They were time consuming to build, but once they're done, it's like, that was a good choice.
That's done now.
Yeah.
And we can move forward, other than just the watering system on it.
Yeah. The watering system right now is us with a hose and a sprayer out there just spraying it. But even that is kind of a simple life,
simple
process. Yeah.
But it takes every day, if it's
down here
over 100 degrees sometimes. Woo, it's hot, and you've got to water.
And this last year we kind of had a drought here. We got a little bit of rain, but it was very little. It
was weird. It was going all over around us, but it would never hit where we were. Yeah. And
I can't tell you the number of rainstorms that we saw coming on the radar, and then they just sort of split in half and go on both sides of us, and we'd stay dry.
If
you watch any of the videos of when we were digging the basement over here, we had a small excavator and a skid loader out there, and it was just, when we would start working in the morning, there'd be just a giant cloud of dust over the whole thing, and it wouldn't stop until we turned everything off at the end of the day.
It was like we were on the moon. How the moon, when you step on it, it goes poof.
Yeah, the dust was like talcum powder almost.
Oh yeah.
And right now, if you go out and step in it, I mean, it's like big clobs of clay.
And it's wet down there. Yeah.
Yeah, but during this last summer, those big clobs of clay, whenever you ran over them enough times, they just get kind of pulverized down into a powder, and it was just literally like talcum powder. When you took a step, the dust would just roll up like that.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
I think God was protecting us, though, because once we called for rain and said, "Oh, please rain."
Yeah.
When it got rain, it rained, and it was flooded. It was bad. So we were fortunate to not have as much rain.
Before we got the drain tile set off down the back of the hill here, it rained a couple of times and it filled up like a swimming pool. So that's okay. KJ, I've been planning off and on since the mid 1980s when I left Arkansas. Now it's time to return to Arkansas, where I belong. Yeah. Well, we felt that way about Missouri. When both of us were born up in north central Iowa, and way back in the 50s and 60s. And as a kid, our family moved down here to an area just not too far from here, just a few miles to the east of here. And we lived here for a couple of years, and I was around 10, 11, 12 years old, somewhere in there. And I mean, that left probably the most impression on me of anything that ever could have. And so when we moved back up to Iowa a couple of years later, the economy was terrible down here, and just couldn't make a living. And so we moved back up to Iowa. And as a kid, it's like, oh, you're taking me out of my natural environment. I mean, I got used to running around in the woods and fishing in the creek and all that kind of stuff. And then
you wouldn't have met me.
Yeah.
So
and I'm smart enough to keep my mouth shut.
There's a reason.
So yeah, to me, I felt like I belonged here ever since I was about 10 years old. So.
I've been wanting to come down here since my family visited it when I was 11 years old. We only got to Hamilton, Missouri, but we did not get to the Ozark part.
Yeah,
so
she didn't know what Missouri was really
I was
like.
wanting to look at that Missouri.
Yeah.
So we came down here on our honeymoon. And I went, oh, I love it. We went ahead.
Came down here once.
Yeah, we came down ahead of time, but I wanted to come back right away.
Yeah, she bugged me ever after that too.
And now we live where we wanted to be.
Yeah, now we got a cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
And it is a simple, enjoyable, slow-paced life. And you know, there are times when we still work hard. We make believe like we're working hard all the time, but we really don't.
I work hard all the time usually.
When she works hard. Okay, I'll put it that. And I can't get her to hardly stop. So
that's the key to young living,
I guess.
Yeah, young lifestyle.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of our take on the simple living thing. I mean, we enjoy growing food. We enjoy the process of it. We enjoy preserving it. And speaking of that, we got another new toy.
Oh yeah.
Today or yesterday. We just opened it today.
Yeah.
So we have got down here for preserving food. We do canning, we do freezing. We've got a dehydrator, but really haven't used it since we've been down here. I mean, we've used it in the past, but
yeah. And the reason why I don't use the dehydrator is because I like the
freeze dryer. So we got a freeze dryer.
It works better for me.
And there are some things that we haven't really experimented with the freeze dryer yet. Missouri is our home too. If you know Arkansas, that's what is likely for you. Yeah. And so when so we got the freeze dryer, and we know that we can do things with it that we haven't tried yet, but we also wanted to be able to do some vacuum sealing. And so we got a vacuum seal machine the other day, and haven't had a chance to try it. I think we're going to try it on some stuff tomorrow. So
Lily has a question.
Okay, Lillian, if your parents are 400 plus
panels.
Your panels are 400 feet from where you want to use the power, will you lose a considerable amount of efficiency? Okay, now that's a question that Mike can answer. I can tell you that the answer is yes.
Because we've talked to the guy up there at the solar place.
But it's a lot of it has to do with the cable size too. So we were going to go a lot farther away from our place, our batteries and our inverter and all of that with 150 feet run, which is, I know, not as far as 400 feet. But so when we were first looking at the panels and the energy transfer and all of that, they gave us the size of the cable that we would need. And then I said, well, I'm going to be about 150 feet away. So they said, so they got their calculators out and they started working on it again. So, well, you're going to need one cable size higher. And when you do that, then your efficiency will be back right where it was. So the answer is yes, but as near as I can tell, you know, with cable size, you can mitigate the energy loss that you're going to have over a long distance.
You'd think that they would invent something called like a booster, a solar booster that you could put in different areas that would be like a booster.
Hear that, you solar people out there? Invent something that's a bit, well,
like a solar booster.
They do have other,
like a repeater almost.
Yeah, they do have other things. They have, I don't want to get into the solar thing right here on this thing, but they do have these solar inverters that instead of bringing all this power from the panels down to where your inverter and batteries are, they have little mini inverters that fit right on the back of the panels. But it's kind of an expensive process, but you're sending a different kind of energy and voltage down the lines that way. and I don't really understand. Now I will tell you this, that if you have the wrong size, you can think of it as probably already out there. Yep, that's true.
Probably.
And but see, when we were trying to figure out where to put our panels, we've had them in 3 different places, and we were looking at a 4th place. Actually, we were looking at a 5th place too, if you count the field down below the septic
I went
system.
against that
But yeah, it blocks our view of the valley.
I want to see the valley.
So we were looking at several different places, and we were trying them out in different places. And actually, Mike was the one that was here. He kept moving them from one place to another, to another, to another, and trying them out there. And we didn't have enough of the real cable microinverter. That's what they're called.
Oh yeah.
And so we didn't have enough of the right kind of cable because it was kind of expensive. And so we wanted to figure out where we were going to go with it first. And so we just got some kind of heavy duty extension cords, but they weren't heavy duty enough. And I don't know, we melted down. I can't tell the number of extension cords.
That's where he got the meltdown.
Yeah.
Man, that cord, we looked at it and we're going, the solar's not working anymore. And we're going, we just don't know what's wrong.
We find a place where usually is where you plug the 2 of them together and it just melted to a puddle of plastic.
It was terrible. So talk to your solar people first.
Yeah, what was it that Mike called that? Crash and burn. It wasn't crash and burn. It was something like that though. And
anyway.
But once we figured out kind of where we were going to have them and all of that, we scrapped the extension cords and got the real deal.
Yeah, so, Lily, you might want to look up micro inverters and
a word of warning. I mean, it kind of solves the problem, but it also is a lot more expensive to do.
Maybe you could locate a certain spot in the middle, kind of close by where
you can't.
No.
It's got to be at one place or the other. So when so Lily, if you guys ever end up coming back down here again, we will. What we ought to do is we've got a really, really good supplier, a solar supplier. It's an hour and a half drive from here about, but it's where we get all of our stuff, and they're extremely knowledgeable. And so before you start buying and investing things in taking advice from people like me, it would be better to talk to people like them.
We have a video somewhere where you talked. You've been up there, and it'll show us up there.
But it doesn't show. I mean, it shows us there, but it really doesn't explain that much of anything.
Okay.
It's just looking at all the stuff there.
Okay.
And the cool thing about it is they stock everything there, so you don't have to have them convince you what's the right thing and then order it in. I mean, you can see it right there.
And depending upon how much stuff you're going to be using, that's going to need solar energy, that also you got to find out how much energy you will be using up, so they can figure out how many panels and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people start off by saying, well, how big their house is, or how big, it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It really doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with how much energy you consume in there.
So look at your energy use and kind of
that's kind of where you have to start with that.
Look at your energy use.
Yeah. So anyway, simple life. We're doing we're building our own stuff a little at a time as we can do it, and we're growing our own food and preserving our own food, and we go out and sit on the back deck and drink coffee and look at the deer. And
I look at my birds.
And the birds, we talked about last week, the birds crashed into the window, and they still do.
They still do.
So
I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah,
I was thinking I would do something over the windows, but I still haven't figured that out yet.
Simple is peaceful. Yeah. Yes. And that's, Robin, that's what you would probably say is that, is simple easy or not easy, or complicated or not complicated? But when you say it's peaceful, that's your definition of simple. And so if life is simple, even if it's work, it still kind of qualifies as that simple living kind of a thing.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
Yeah.
What a simple lifestyle would be for you?
Mike and Adrian must have forgot that we were going to be on here, because I haven't seen them on here yet.
She probably texted me on her address.
So anyway, we appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
If you have anything else, say so. Otherwise, we're going to have one of my nieces showed up here tonight, and cousin, let's see, just trying to find the closest place we could put the panels to the cabins. Okay, clear out a spot Thanks for the info. Yeah, and really, I mean, I think I'm talking to Lily here again. Where you had showed me where you were at least clearing out for that one. I think if you came out into that big open area in that field, it seemed like most of the trees were cleared out, or the field was to the south of that. And so, really, as long as you can get good good coverage from the south and the west, you can do an awful lot with solar panels without having to go out and clear out a lot of stuff.
I remember that place where
Yeah,
she
it seemed
had
like
that
you came up.
field.
Yeah, I just don't remember how far back down into the woods
Yeah,
that
I
you
don't
had
know.
that cabin site kind of laid out. So, yeah, may need to make another trip up there and see them.
Yeah.
All right, Lily and Dave. I'm trying to twist Mike and Adrian's arm into coming with us when we come up there. They'd love your place.
They would.
Yeah. So anyway, I can't think of really much else other than, if it's a dream, if you got it as a dream, find a way, find a plan, get something going, because I can tell you that every year that you don't kind of take that step into your dream life. Gordon Carpenter. Oh, hello from California.
Hey.
Where are you at in California, roughly? Come on, we're ready for you. Okay, good. Yeah, Dave needs to make some more of those 1.5-inch cookies.
1.5-inch cookies.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Gordon Carpenter's from California. We just had some friends go out there just 2 days ago and just brought some Central. Okay, so you're not around the fires, thank goodness. Good. Yeah. They had our friends went out there a week or 2 weeks ago to bring a trailer load of stuff back from their house out there, and they were a little ways away from the fires, but he said it was only about 30 minutes or so away. And when they got back here yesterday, they'd sent a text to us that a fire had broke out right in the field right behind where their house was, right behind their subdivision, and it was moving towards them. Yeah. It's like, holy cow, I hope everything's going to be okay. It's a mess. Yeah. And I can believe it. I believe you. But yeah, that was coming in. But fortunately, I haven't heard an update. I'm assuming I would have heard something if there had been a problem. But it sounded like there was, right there in their place, there was plenty of firefighting capabilities there, so they must have got it taken out. And we hear a lot of things about what are the source of the fires, but I guess what started those, they were pretty easy to see that the wind had knocked down some power lines, and the arcs and the sparks from the power lines was what set the fields on fire. So anyway, it sounds like they kind of avoided a disaster there.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, part of the reason why they're here in Missouri is they're kind of trying to escape and start a simple life program for themselves. And and they work for us kind of part-time up at our cabin and campsite place, and the tree houses. Yeah. And so, they're, and they love it here. They're living in an RV, and we lived in an RV for a while.
I had thoughts about that RV again. And if you need to get a simple life, you might live in an RV for a while and get all your money saved up, and then move that RV out where your spot is and start building your place.
Oh, can I ask, what were we saying about waiting? And to me, okay, now this is just a personal opinion, okay? And it's, you can wait and wait and wait and wait and wait for the time and everything to be right and the stars to be lined up and all of that. But really, and I'm not saying just kind of shut everything off right now and dive into it, because you don't want to do anything without some kind of a plan. But rather than waiting, my whole mentality is, find a way to get started, even if it's just starting where you're at and progressing towards your dream and your goal. Gordon says, do it now. And that's the easy way of saying the long drawn out thing that I was trying to say, is just do it now. Just find a way and get it started. Even if, we started when we were in Iowa and very first married, we started in a little place, and we built we had nothing to work with hardly, but we built a little greenhouse on the front of our
I remember
house.
that.
We built a garden, but didn't know any better than not to build it near a walnut tree. So the garden never grew. Okay. And it was just, I think it was being poisoned by the walnut tree all the time. But we did that there. And actually that's where we got our sawmill. And I set up a sawmill
Yeah.
right in the middle of town and started sawing wood. And so, I mean, I don't think that's something that they would have allowed if they had known that I was doing it or if I was real obnoxious with it. But we started at this
Well,
little
then
tiny house. It was 700 feet, so it was just bigger than this cabin, but not much. And then we moved to a little bit bigger place where we were able to have a good garden and still in town. But we raised rabbits there. We put in wood stove in that place, a big wood furnace, and we were working our way towards that simple life kind of a idea. And we just started where we were at with what we had, and I mean that's not a bad way to go.
No. Lily said they're looking for a welder. Anybody got a welder out there?
Looking for a welder to do the foundations. Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
you are talking about welding like pier footings for a treehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the tree
And
they want to build tree houses.
yeah. And okay, so I mean they're in southwest Iowa. I mean, I know a couple of guys down here that have done some welding for us, but I don't know that they would travel all that far up there. I mean, I know David can do it, but he probably doesn't want to climb up on the things like I could do it, but I don't want to climb up on the things either. So
you're looking for a welder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody knows of a good welder wanting to go up there.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't know if they would.
No, right now you wouldn't. Well, right now you wouldn't be able to dig a hole for the.
Oh, that would be
for the things anyway. But
yeah.
If I was another 20 years younger, I'd probably do the welding. But then if David was 20 years younger, he'd do the welding. So we have a portable. Just joking. So, well, so David and Lily. Lily is my cousin, and we love them. From the very first time that we met David, her husband, it was like we fell in love with them. They're just wonderful, wonderful people, and their family. So we're all old now. Yeah, it's a fact. And so over the years we've gotten to where they're kind of some of our favorite people. And they've got a beautiful place up in southwest Iowa, and they got inspired a little bit by some of the tree houses that we built down here, and wanted to build some up there. And if I was just a little bit younger, I would probably climb right up there and help you with the welding. But yeah, we'll probably have to find someone a little younger.
They want to make a simple life out of not having to go to work.
Yeah.
They want to do that instead.
And if you don't mind me talking about that a little bit, Lily, it was a couple of times we were up there to visit, and they were asking about how to go about kind of setting up some of that ongoing sort of perpetual income on their place. And so that became a conversation, because that's one of the things that we have kind of done down here is just figure out over the last, well, what's it been now? Almost 15 years, when we bought our first little resort over there, our first little bunch of broken down cabins.
Was it 15?
Well, it was 2011, so it's getting pretty close.
Okay, probably
14. And it's just like trying to figure out how to extract income out of whatever life it is that you're doing. And we unintentionally, for those of you that don't know us and our story with that, we wanted to buy some cabins for our family to kind of come and hang out with. And we kind of started looking for places that had a cabin or a couple of cabins for sale. And I remember we were just getting ready to go on a vacation somewhere. It was like in December, and we stumbled across this little listing of an old resort that had 3 broken down cabins on it. Don't mind at all. The more input, the better. Okay. Well, so we started that. We bought, and it was like we were just getting ready to, like the next morning we were leaving for vacation and didn't really have a chance to talk to a realtor about these things. And the price was kind of dirt cheap for what they were, but at the same time they were all broken down and unusable. So you weren't just buying something that was going to start turning money. And so while we were on vacation, we kept talking about it. We thought, well, it'll probably be sold by the time we get back. And they weren't. They were still available when we got back there. So we got with a realtor and ended up buying them. And and this was like in February is when we closed on them. I remember that. And we decided we were going to go down there and set up a camper.
Yep. It was a little camper.
And live in a camper while we renovated a couple of the cabins. And
we got permission too from the city.
Well, no, we didn't.
Oh.
We just went down there, but well, you know, it's better to ask forgiveness than ask permission sometimes. Okay. So we ended up down there. This is the year I'm going to get really aggressive in pursuing my dream. Good. Yay! We're looking forward to your progress on it, Ken. Yeah. We really are. Yeah. But so we came back, bought these little broken down cabins, moved a camper down there, and the city kind of caught up to me several months later, but it was already after we had done some real serious improvement, cleaning up the property and all of that. And I went down there to see them and explained to them what we were doing. We were just cleaning the property up and renovating the cabins, making them nice. And the town was such a rundown, beat up town that they were happy. And so I said, well, I've got a camper there. And they said, you do whatever you need to do. Just, you know, we're happy to see you making the place look better. And so we kind of dodged a bullet a little bit there, because I found out later that they really don't allow people to live in campers in the city, but they were okay with us. And we lived there. We were going to be there a couple of months. We ended up being there all the entire summer and into the fall.
Oh yeah. And the story goes on. We bought more there.
Yeah.
And it went from there to
ultimately it wound up over at
tree houses,
building tree houses in another place. And, but yeah, it's just one thing led to another. And that, I guess, goes to the whole idea of, you know, don't wait till the timing is perfect on it. Just if you can find something that's workable and doable, just find a way to get it started.
You know, start with the one thing that you know what your next step is and get it done.
Today is the day to start. Yeah. And I know you guys have started clearing property and all of that up there.
They've already
you're doing the thing, and we've just been so busy we haven't been able to take time to come up there.
They've already got in their minds that that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So they've already talked about it. They've, you know, they're just they're in the process of it.
Yeah. And let me, I guess, since we got into that whole cabin thing, I'm gonna kind of finish telling the short version of that story. We had 4 cabins there that we really intended for just to be family and friends use, where it was just going to be us and nobody else. But when we started, we were working on them and renovating them and got the property cleaned up, and she was planting flowers and built a rock wall and some stuff like that. And people started driving in and wondering if they could rent the cabins. And, you know, for a couple of months I said, no, they're private for family use. And then after a while, it's like, well, why not? I mean, people keep showing up wanting to spend money there. So we started in October, I think, that first year was when we finally decided to take a booking for a week-long, I think it was a week-long stay that those people came up from Kentucky or wherever it was they were from. And we had a great time with them. We were still working on some of the other cabins, and they were on vacation in the area. And at night they would invite us to sit by the bonfire with them. And
it was fun.
And I think that kind of triggered a lot of the vision that we ended up having, because we went on the hunt for more cabins in that area. And before it was all done, we owned 3 little mom and pop resorts over there that all of them we were able to pick up for just cheap because they were all broken down. And, you know, it turned into a deal where we had, what did we have for the number of cabins? We had 5 at the one place. 8 at the other place, and so that's 13. And then we had, what was it, 7 units over at that one. So we had right at 20 or 21 units over there when it was all said and done, and people just coming and spending money on vacation. And it was amazing, because all of a sudden we had this light bulb moment that you know, we could do what we love doing and actually make a living doing it. So and then we branched out into other stuff too that created income. So it was a growth process over the course of about 10 years. And, but it was, I mean, we never looked back after we got started. No. And I don't regret any of it. Even some of the complicated, difficult stuff.
I love some of the things that we did. We made our own, cabinets out of cedar log siding. Just our logs. I would
sawmill slabs them. Is what it was.
Sawmill slabs. I would strip them down, and then he'd measure them and make the cabinets out of them, and they look so good.
Yeah, I'll maybe put a link to one of the videos where you can see some of that stuff. You know what I may do is I'll put the link to the video where we were talking about the resort adventures thing, and where we talked about when we got started with that, because that was I mean, a lot of, and really that whole simple life journey is something that a lot of people will hesitate on because they're unsure about, where they're going to earn a living while they're doing that. So you used to make some beautiful cabins. Yeah, they were beautiful. And they were just so rustic, but yet, I mean, glossy, beautiful.
They were just pretty.
Very, the color just burst out on them. And so, yeah, they were nice. I'll put a video up there of some of that.
I may
stuff
want some here, huh?
Oh, here we go. Okay, so there's a joke about that because when we would buy the sawmill slabs, they still had the bark on them, and the bark had to be stripped off. And so she'd take a power washer out there and start blasting the bark off them days on end doing that. So she came up with the nickname of the stripper. So when we joke about
gotta have some fun.
I married a stripper. It was true.
Oh boy.
You didn't need me to tell that, did you? Oh well. All right, in trouble again, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's what it is.
Well, we've been on here almost an hour.
Almost an hour, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, enjoyed the conversation again. We'll keep rambling on here a little bit for a couple of minutes if anybody has any other comments or questions or anything like that.
Do you guys have anything Casey might be coming on.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I think
if he can't come on next week, do you
it
have
might be
anything?
The following week.
Do you have anything that you would want to talk about?
Yeah. Not that we're experts, but we like talking about it, and we may not be experts, but we do have experience. Okay, so whether it's good or that's bad, it's kind of like melting the solar cable.
Just maybe not that we can't do it next week, but if you hear something that you want to talk about, like we did the solar thing, we even had Mike come on for the solar thing.
They were sort of on for one of the off-grid things that we did too.
Yeah. So,
And Bob, it was good to see you on here. I mean, we've seen Robin show up, but I appreciate you getting on with us here tonight,
thanks, Bob. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
So.
They're silent.
Silence. Well, it's always silent because we're the only ones here talking, and everybody else is just like batteries for the solar panels. So, is the question that do you want us to talk about batteries with the solar panels, or when is the best time to look for property, winter, summer, or when? Well, okay. Let me answer the battery thing first. Clarify that a little bit, Gordon. If you're talking about wanting to discuss the batteries for the solar panel, because I can't do that very well, but my son-in-law Mike can, and we can bring him back on with a kind of a split screen and have him take part in the conversation as well. So if that's what you're after, we'll set that up again for another week or two down the road, and because they have got their place is a complete 100% off-grid place. We call it the backwoods bug out, and they've got a 48 volt system there, and just I don't know how many batteries. I mean, it's a lot.
I would like to talk to KJ when the best time to look for property, winter, summer, when. Every day is a good time because you'll never know when a piece of property comes up that just might have your interest. So you can go look online and see, and if you have a realtor and you know the area you want, I think you need to find that realtor and have them plug you into some of their things that they can go on to your criteria of what you're looking for in your land.
Yeah, I sent him information on DJ.
Okay.
If you've got hooked up to me, even though when I'm not looking for property, I never disengage from the process. I'm always looking at what his auto queue or whatever it's called is sending me, because everything continually comes through that comes up on the market or has a price reduction. So I'm always within probably 12 hours of when a new property comes on the market. And if you're engaged at that level, you're going to see all the good deals. You're going to see the bad deals. You're going to see everything in between. But a lot of times people are, I don't know if there's a good time when you're talking residential stuff. I usually kind of like to look in the fall and the winter because the demand is typically a little lower then. And so you're not quite competing with quite so many people.
I guess what you need
Yeah.
to do is, if you see something that you want to look at, find however many you need to look at and go look at them with it. It doesn't matter if it's winter or summer. It just depends on if your timing is right for you. Would you be able to,
pull the trigger,
pull the trigger and do it?
Yeah.
Because honestly, the land that Mike and Adrian, they were looking for quite a while.
Yeah.
And when it came on, and Mike goes, wow, we better hurry up and make an offer. And boom, they made an offer.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a good thing they did, because it would have gone away. So constantly look, but yet
there
keep
a year or so ago, or 2 years ago, if you didn't make an offer almost within 48 hours, it was sold. So
yeah. And this property that we're at, we looked at a lot of different properties, and when this one came on and we fell in love with it, we thought, okay, everything fits into our criteria of what we want. And so we made an offer right away.
Yeah,
so,
and we'd already lost 2 or 3 offers,
right,
because they'd sold before we had the chance to get them in.
So,
and so this one we decided, okay, we're not going to wait till tomorrow. It was in the evening. We sent the offer in kind of late that afternoon or evening, and it was accepted. And then we found out later that we made full price, because we kind of understood what the dynamics were right here, right now. And we did a full price one. And as it turns out, they had 5 other offers on this same property. And we were the only ones that was full price.
Be the aggressor.
Yeah.
Because not knowing exactly where your land is, but just remember that what you have out there, if you have more properties out there that are there, we had hardly anything to choose from.
There was not much. Yeah.
And so we knew that we had to hurry and do this.
Now, I'm going to tell you something else about down in Arkansas. I don't know how far DJ's listing capability runs down into Arkansas. This may be kind of outside of his circle, but you were talking about Searcy, Arkansas, and we were looking on a website. I don't even remember what it was. You probably are already on it anyway, but in that Searcy area, it wasn't that town or that county specifically, but there was quite a bit of larger pieces of land down in that area that were all gorgeous. I mean, they were like, yeah, I would, if I was wanting to get that far out from where we're at here, that is an excellent area down there. And there was some nice stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well,
yeah, Robin says she remembered when we were getting this place, because you came down and kind of hiked the property with us. It might have been after we already bought it, though.
Yeah, I think we already bought it.
Or at least we had it under contract.
Yeah.
And because that whole process didn't happen long. It was, we looked at it one day, and less than 24 hours later, it was under contract. I still remember
doing it.
Yeah.
And I remember going back in my mind going, now we looked at all these properties. Now I remember this one. I hope I can get that one. And we came back, and that's the one we ended up getting. So
yeah,
I like it for the fact
it's not a huge place, but it's plenty big enough for everything that we want to do. And we really haven't even explored it all yet. So
I got a lot of exploring in me.
Yeah. We found the corner pins. We knew roughly where they were at anyway, and they said that it had been surveyed, but we didn't go find them ahead of time. But after we got here one day, we thought we were taking a break from building on a cabin, and we thought, let's go find the corner points. So we got a little app on our phone that helped us find them, and went and found them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fun. I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's you can call it simple life, or you can call it hard life, or whatever you want to call it. But to me, it's very contenting. It's very content. And
I feel very blessed.
Yeah.
Because when I look out there and I see all these beautiful trees and the deer all over the place, and I mean, it's quiet, and I just feel blessed.
Yeah.
And you will really enjoy it once you set your foot there. Septic option.
Yeah. Okay. Well, whether it's next week or whether it's the following week,
depending on Casey.
Yeah. If Casey comes in there, we're going to kind of give him the floor and let him lead the show. But we'll definitely put that in. We'll put the battery thing in there when I know that I can get Mike on board with us, and we can talk about the septic thing. The septic, I mean, we learned a lot about it because we installed our own down here, and but it's likely going to be different than it is up there
Yeah.
where you're at. You're going to have soil that can deal with it really easy. Ours was not. So,
Yeah.
But we'll certainly,
talk about
we'll
that.
talk about that too.
Some of the things that
I guess we
went
need
on.
to make a list, keep an ongoing list
Okay.
of things that
Well,
people
we
are
can
asking
write
about.
that down.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll do that, Lily.
Yeah. So we're coming up on
Well,
an hour. So I think maybe we'll probably cut it off.
Yeah.
If you have anything else to say, jump right in there quick. Otherwise, we're going to remember.
Thank you.
We'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and look at some of the other videos that we've got. We've got the process of building this cabin blown out all over the videos there. And we just started, we're documenting everything on the house that's back there behind us right now. So
they have lots.
Sawdust and a bucket. Lots of hard clay. Oh, you got hard clay up there? I didn't realize that. I would have expected it to be a little better. If you have hard clay, that's kind of like what we're dealing with too.
Yeah, hard clay. So.
Yeah. So anyway, again, thanks. Hit subscribe, notification bell. Appreciate you coming on board. We're going to do another one next Tuesday night at 7:00 Central Time for those of you out in California. And appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have a good evening.
Yeah. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you. She said.